He didn't tell you, but his soul screamed it. While you were hurting in silence, he was drowning in fear. He walked away, but never let go. He acted cold, but never stopped feeling. Because deep down, beneath every excuse, every wall, every delay, he's terrified. Not of love, but of losing the one woman who saw his soul and loved him anyway. Comment: his soul knows I'm the one. If you've ever felt like he was running from what he wanted most, what he hides behind silence. The divine masculine rarely speaks what he feels. He's mastered the art of pretending that he's unaffected, pretending he doesn't need anyone, pretending that he's not in pieces after what happened between you. But what if I told you that his silence is not emptiness, it's overflow? He was taught to keep his feelings under lock and key. That emotion equals weakness. That vulnerability makes him lose control. So when you came into his life, radiant, intuitive, deeply aware, he panicked. You didn't just see him, you felt him. You touched parts of him no one else even noticed. And that's what terrified him. Because being seen by someone like you is both the deepest desire and the greatest fear of the divine masculine. He doesn't fear the connection, he fears the loss of it. The fear that you'll wake up one day and realize you deserve better, that you'll leave, that you'll stop waiting, that you'll no longer feel him across timelines, dreams, and lifetimes. And so, to protect himself from that potential heartbreak, he distances, he withdraws. He may even convince himself that pushing you away is the right thing to do. Have you ever felt like he shut the door just when the bond was getting stronger? Like he pulled away the moment you needed him to be present? It wasn't because he didn't care. It was because caring that much scared him. Because your love demanded that he rise, that he shed the versions of himself built on survival, detachment, and illusion. And part of him still clings to those illusions because they feel safer than the unknown. You are not someone he could casually forget. You are the one who disturbed the numbness, the one who made him feel alive again. And that kind of aliveness requires responsibility. It requires awakening. And he doesn't yet know if he can hold that. But the silence he gives you, it's not the silence of indifference. It's the silence of a soul in conflict. He thinks he's hiding from you, but he's really hiding from the part of himself that wants this deeply and doesn't know how to say it. Even in the separation, he's listening to your words, to your energy, to your vibration. And when you shift, when you start to pull back, not from pain, but from peace, he feels it. even if he doesn't say a word. That's the irony of this connection. The more he pushes you away, the more he senses what he stands to lose. And what he hides behind silence is the awareness that once you're gone, truly gone, nothing will ever compare to the feeling of being loved by someone who saw his soul before he even knew how to see it himself. So if he's quiet now, don't mistake it for absence. It's tension, it's turmoil, it's a heart wrestling with the realization that the only thing scarier than being with you is losing you for good. He may not say it out loud. He may never admit it to anyone, not even himself. But deep down, the divine masculine is haunted by one fear. What if she stops waiting? What if she moves on? What if the one soul who ever truly saw me lets go? That fear doesn't look like panic on the surface. It hides beneath his calm demeanor. It hides behind casual conversations, delayed responses, awkward silences. It hides behind the mask of logic, of being too busy, of not ready. But the truth is, he's terrified of your absence. And here's the paradox. The more he fears losing you, the more he pushes you away. Not because he wants you gone, but because he believes he'll lose you anyway. So in his mind, it's safer to self-sabotage, to control the ending, to break it before you do. This fear doesn't come from you. It comes from his past, from lifetimes and this lifetime of being abandoned, rejected, unseen. And now the idea of being loved so deeply by someone as powerful, intuitive, and pure as the divine feminine feels unreal. It challenges his identity. It cracks his walls. It leaves him vulnerable in a way he's never been before. Have you ever felt like he was trying to push you out of his life while silently hoping you'd stay? Like his actions contradicted everything his soul seemed to be saying? That's because this fear is layered. It's not just about you. It's about what you represent. You are not just a partner. You are the mirror of his potential. You reflect what he could become and what he's afraid he never will. And in the quiet moments, when he's alone, when the world slows down, when the distractions fade, he feels it. He feels the pulse of your energy. He feels the gap widening, and he wonders, what if she doesn't come back this time? That fear begins to shape him. He becomes restless, disconnected, irritable with others, because no one else touches him where you do. No one else reaches that deep. No one else carries his soul's memory the way you do. But here's the truth he tries to avoid. The feminine is not afraid of love. She's afraid of settling for a half-present version of it. And when he senses that she's no longer waiting for him to be ready, When he feels her shifting into her own sovereignty, he starts to panic, internally, energetically, because he's realizing that the one thing he feared all along, losing her, might now be a reality he created. But this fear isn't the end, it's the doorway. Because through that fear, he's being invited to transform, to rise, to claim what he once denied. And while that path may be long, it begins the moment he recognizes this truth. She's not the one who left. He's the one who turned away from something sacred. And now, only his courage can bring him home. Why he runs when he feels the depth of love. To the divine feminine, love is an ocean, vast, deep, and eternal. But to the divine masculine, especially one who has not yet healed, love can feel like a tidal wave. A force so powerful, it threatens to drown everything he thought he knew about himself. And so, he runs. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he feels too much. You see, love isn't new to him, but this kind of love, this soul-level, timeline-shifting, ego-destroying love, that's something he never saw coming. It's not the intensity that scares him, it's the transformation. Because when you came into his life, everything started to move. Old beliefs, old wounds, old habits, all suddenly lit up in your presence. He wasn't just falling for you, he was unraveling. And unraveling feels like dying to a masculine who built his entire identity around control, around being the one who has it together, around never needing anyone. You didn't just love him, you exposed him. Not in a harsh way, but in a holy way. You showed him who he could become, and that's exactly what made him bolt. Have you ever seen that moment? When the connection gets too real, and suddenly he disappears, stops responding, gives vague answers, says things like, "I'm confused," or "I need space." That's not rejection, that's confrontation. The confrontation between the soul that recognizes destiny and the ego that isn't ready to surrender. He runs because staying means shedding layers he still clings to. Layers of trauma, pride, protection. Layers that once kept him safe, but now keep him small. And love this deep doesn't wait for permission. It breaks through. So he tries to build distance. He pretends it was never that serious. He might even claim he's not ready for a relationship. But inside, he's replaying every moment, rehearing your words, reliving the energy, feeling you in ways he can't explain to anyone. And here's the truth. He's not just afraid of losing you. He's afraid of deserving you. and then losing you. He's afraid of being seen, afraid of being known, afraid of finally letting someone into the most sacred parts of himself, only to fail, to fall short, to be abandoned. Because in his mind, it's easier to run now than to stay and possibly lose everything later. But what he doesn't realize is this: by running, he's already losing the most sacred gift his soul has ever received, being loved by someone who saw him before he even knew who he was becoming. And no matter how far he goes, no matter who he distracts himself with, he can't unfeel you. He can't outrun the bond. He can't erase the echo of a soul that matched his in a language only the heart understands. So he runs, but even in motion, he remains connected. And one day, maybe when he's alone, maybe when he's breaking, maybe when he least expects, he'll stop. Not because he found something better, but because nothing ever compared to the love that scared him most. There comes a moment in every divine masculine's journey where the silence no longer feels safe. It starts to feel dangerous, not because he's suddenly ready, but because, for the first time, he senses that she might not be there when he finally is. At first, he thought he had time to sort his life, time to heal in private, time to run without losing anything. He believed her love was endless, and it is. But unconditional love does not mean unconditional access. And deep down, he always feared this truth. She might stop waiting. This realization rarely comes in loud ways. It comes quietly, in small energetic shifts. He feels her less often in the field. Her energy, once so open, so inviting, begins to soften, not in bitterness, but in sovereignty. Suddenly, his silence isn't met with the same spiritual pull. His absence is no longer filled with her longing. She's not chasing, she's not reacting, she's evolving. And that shift hits him like lightning. Because for so long he counted on her energy being there. The texts she'd send even after he ignored her. The meditations where she'd hold the vision of their union. The way her heart stayed open even when he closed every door. Now that door feels different. Not closed, but no longer wide open. Not angry, but no longer waiting. And that's when the fear kicks in. Not the fear of commitment, but the fear of consequence. The consequence of delay. The consequence of assuming that her love would always be there to catch him. Have you ever reached that turning point where your love didn't disappear, but your patience did? where you didn't stop feeling, but you started choosing yourself. He can feel that, even if you never say a word, even if he's blocked, even if months or years have passed. Your detachment, when rooted in truth, creates an echo in his soul that shakes everything. Because now the game has changed. Now he's the one wondering, is it too late? Did I wait too long? What if she's no longer looking back? This isn't about ego, it's about realization. He begins to see the full picture, that the love he feared was the very thing that could have healed him, that the woman he pushed away was the mirror of his own divinity, and that while he was hiding from his feelings, she was rising in hers. The fear of losing her forever no longer feels hypothetical. It becomes tangible. It becomes immediate. And it's in that moment, when he realizes that the world is still spinning without him, that the silence he once controlled becomes unbearable. Because now he knows she might still love him, but she's no longer waiting at the edge of herself to prove it. And that truth, it's the awakening that begins to change everything. How this fear becomes his awakening. Fear isn't always the enemy. Sometimes, fear is the only thing strong enough to break through the noise. And for the divine masculine, it's often not love that awakens him first. It's the fear of losing that love. When he first stepped back, he thought he was protecting the connection, protecting you, protecting himself. But over time, that distance didn't bring peace. It brought pressure, spiritual pressure, emotional tension, dreams that won't go away, signs that haunt him in the smallest moments. The silence he once used as a shield becomes a mirror, and what he sees is undeniable. You're not where he left you. You're no longer energetically circling around him. You've expanded. At first, he resists it, tells himself stories. She's probably still thinking about me. She knows I'll come back. She'll wait. But the soul doesn't lie, and eventually, he starts to feel the shift, not just in you, but in himself. He's no longer satisfied with the distractions. He's restless in rooms that once felt comfortable. The women he entertains don't touch his soul. The routines he once clung to feel hollow, and behind it all, one truth rings louder than anything else. I'm losing her. And that fear, it begins to soften the ego. It humbles him. It shakes him awake. Because in losing your presence, he finds something deeper, the presence of his own soul crying out for alignment. He realizes he wasn't just running from love. He was running from the version of himself that love was trying to create. this fear becomes the doorway to truth. He begins to remember things you said, moments you shared, how your energy didn't just touch him, it changed him. He recalls who he was around you, more open, more vulnerable, more real. And suddenly, it clicks. You weren't a distraction, you were a divine intervention. And walking away from you wasn't protection, it was avoidance. It was fear winning, until now. Because now the fear of losing you is greater than the fear of facing himself. Now, he's ready to go into the dark, to feel the pain he numbed, to question the armor he wore for so long, to stop blaming time and start listening to his truth. This doesn't mean he knows what to do yet, or that he'll call tomorrow. But something irreversible has begun. The illusion is cracking. The echo of your absence is louder than the noise of the world. And through that echo, his soul is waking up. Fear brought him here, but it won't keep him here, because now he knows, if I don't rise into the man she saw in me, I'll lose the only woman who ever saw me at all. He thought she was gone. Her messages stopped. Her energy felt quieter. She no longer lingered in the ways she used to. Not in his inbox, not in his orbit. And for a moment, he believed he had lost her completely. But what he didn't realize was this: she never left the connection. She only left the illusion. She let go of the waiting, let go of the ache, let go of the version of love that depended on being chosen. And in that release, she returned to her center, not away from him, but back to herself. Because the divine feminine doesn't run. She reclaims. She doesn't abandon the field. She cleanses it. And the love she carries, it doesn't disappear, it transforms. She doesn't hold the door open anymore, because now the door is inside her, and whoever enters must match the frequency of truth. He still feels her every time he lays awake in silence, every time he hears that one song, every time he sees someone laugh the way she did. He feels her in the dreams that return without warning. He feels her when no one else sees the pain in his eyes. But he knows she once did, because her energy never truly left. It only stopped bending to meet him where he refused to rise. And now, that shift has changed him. Because the silence she left behind wasn't empty. It was sacred. It was filled with everything she once carried for both of them. Now, it waits for him to carry it too. This is the divine masculine's awakening, the realization that love was never something to earn, but something to embody, and that the woman he thought he could delay forever was the mirror of everything he was born to become. She may be still, she may be distant, but she is not gone. She's present, in alignment, not in attachment. And if he wants to find her again, he won't find her in the past. He won't find her in memory. He'll find her in truth, in evolution, in choosing the path he once avoided, the path home, not to her arms, but to his soul. Because the final secret he never said out loud is the one that still vibrates in his heart. She was never the one who left. I was the one who stopped showing up where she already was. And now, if he wants that love again, he knows where to go, not back, but deeper,